Shalom to you all. This is Bill Bullock. I'm coming to you live again today from the Biblical Lifestyle Center in Texarkana, USA. We're about to close out our studies in the book of Vayechi, Genesis. We're about to close an era. Come along and let's see what the Holy One has in store for us on this beautiful Sabbath day. Thank you for letting me be a part of your Sabbath, of this day of holiness, this day of blessing, this day of rest in the wisdom and the care and the counsel of the Creator of the universe. Our series this year, 5786 from creation, is returning to and laying hold of the tree of life. Get this picture of the tree of life in your mind, because this is where we're going. This is where the Holy One wants us to be. This is where He created us to be. But we have to follow the protocols and the pathway to get back. We have to be able to pass an inspection of motive and of purity before we get there. Parsha number 12 of our series, week number 12 of our sessions is Vayechi. Vayechi, as it may be called in some pronunciations. Vayechi. It's Parsha number 12, Genesis 47:28 through 50:21. We will conclude, as I mentioned, the book of Genesis this week. The Torah is our tree of life. The studies that we're doing are not just designed to educate us or inform us. As a matter of fact, if that's all they're doing, I have failed of my essential purpose. My purpose is to get you on a journey, an odyssey, a pilgrimage back to the tree of life. In the Garden of Eden, the Torah is this tree of life to all who lay hold of her. Proverbs 3:18. Torah is a brilliantly crafted prophetic narrative, a series of prophetic narratives even, narratives that establish a pathway that we are to follow on our quest, on our long journey back home to the tree of life in the garden. These establish the pathway, these narratives do. They establish the pathway we are to follow, and they illumine all the landmarks we are having to pass. And they teach us the secrets of navigating the challenges that we face in the course of our long journey back home. Oh, come along, let's go together. I want to introduce you to something we may have talked about before in different sessions, but I haven't talked about it in a while. That's the staircase metaphor. If you remember, part of our studies back in Parsha Vayechi, the Parsha in which Vayechi, the Parsha in which Yaakov left the land of Israel, land of Israel, and went to live with his uncle Laban in Padan Aram. And that journey, at Genesis 28, when we were at that stage in our narratives, there was a vision introduced to Yaakov in a dream, and that was a vision of a great staircase that had its foot on the earth, but it had its head in the heavenlies. And at the top of the staircase was the Creator Himself, and angels were ascending and descending on the staircase, as you see. Now, the staircase was not just a vision that he saw. It's a metaphor for our journey back to the tree of life, our journey through the Torah each year, our covenant adventure, as we're called to make. Reading and meditating through the Torah each year is like climbing that metaphorical staircase that Yaakov saw. So when I talk about the staircase metaphor, I'm trying to get your mind back to Genesis 28, angels ascending and descending, messengers of the Creator of the universe ascending and descending upon that staircase, but our source being Him, and our destiny and our destination being in His world, His realm. So we begin the ascent every year. We begin the ascent in the fall, in the time that earth is being prepared for a new harvest season. Ground is tilled. And this timing of ascent is in the northern hemisphere, at least, is in the fall. And it is Simchat Torah is the day on which the actual breakthrough, when we step onto the ladder for the first time, it takes place. We continue on that ladder step by step, rung by rung. Each step is a parsha of Torah, which contains certain narratives. So each step has certain challenges that go with it. But each step on the ladder that we take is a parsha, or each parsha that we study is a step on the ladder. And we continue climbing that ladder for 12 months every year, all the way into the summer growing season, the height of the summer growing season. At that particular stage, we should be reaching our highest level yet of understanding of who the Holy One is, who the Creator is, and why He created us and put us on the earth. That's our journey every year. In the intervening 12 months between the starting of the journey on Simchat Torah and the conclusion of the journey as we reach our pinnacle at Yom Teruah, the day of the blowing of the trumpets, and Yom Kippur, the day of the coverings, in the intervening months, we ascend 5 separate flights of stairs, metaphorically. The metaphor refers to, these flights refer to the books of the Torah. Each book of the Torah represents a flight on this staircase. And each parsha is a stair that we must climb within that flight. So ascending the staircase that we do each year represents accumulating wisdom, drawing closer to the Holy One, and His persona and His emanating radiance of Kedusha, our holiness and power and majesty, and learning more about what we're supposed to be doing and reattaching to the design plan. Descending it as we do in the summer season every year after we conclude our parsha, we descend again to reconnect with our root structure and our soil base of nutrients so we can begin the journey again, just like the agricultural year begins again. So we have reached, all that was to tell you that we have reached our first landing with the area between the flights. Landing is a level platform area between flights of stairs, strategically designed by the architect and built by the contractor to provide those who are climbing the staircase with a place of rest, place to pause and catch their breath as they've made this steep ascent, to contemplate where they've come from and where they're going, to refocus on the reason they're taking the journey in the first place, to reorient to the environment and atmosphere around them, to prepare for a directional change which is about to occur because the staircase is about to wind in a different direction. Do all these things, this platform, this landing between the flights of stairs, is there to help us rest before we engage with the next flight of stairs, the next book of Torah in our metaphor, the next set of parshas in our story. So that's where we are. We're at a landing. We're going to think about a little bit about where we've come from and where we're going. We're going to take a deep breath before we head off into the next flight of stairs, which is going to be the second book of Torah, Exodus, as it's known in the Western world, or Shemot, as it's known in Hebrew. As the first book draws to a close, what have we learned from this book? We do this for a purpose. This is not just education, not just information we're trying to gather. The reason I'm leading you through this is not so that you can be smarter than the average bear or the average Bible student. I'm wanting you to get closer and closer to the Creator of the universe. And that's what this whole journey is about, closeness. What have you learned about that from this book? What has this book and its stories, its narratives, each steps along the staircase, or this flight of the staircase at least, what have these things taught you about the Creator and about His personality and His persona, about His ways, about His expectations of the world and of you? What have you gleaned from it regarding the greater plan for all creation, about mankind's assigned role in that plan? What have you learned about the purpose for which man was put on earth? And you were put on earth in such a time as this. What have you learned about the challenges that men face, you face, I face, all generations tend to face, and must strive to overcome as we ascend this staircase every year? What have you learned about those challenges and how to deal with them and how to recognize them and how to understand them and how to accomplish the purposes for which we've been given the breath of life at such a time as this? What have you learned from this book? What mysteries have unfolded before your eyes as we've been reading through part 1 of the Holy One's masterpiece theater presentation? I call it the opera of the book of Genesis. How has meditating upon this book changed you? Has it? It should. How has your studies in this book altered the way you look at and approach and engage with other people and with time and the days that you have allotted on earth? How are you better equipped for success in life and advancement in the grand plan by virtue of reading, meditating, and studying this book? Remember, the Creator of the universe is alive and real. And he's always speaking, and he's always working and doing things to accomplish his will. He's always calling human beings to come closer, come closer. He's always leading us. He's always teaching us. He's always redeeming those things that are broken and restoring those things which need to be restored. No word that he speaks, no action that he does, no moment that he interacts with mankind, and no story in his narrative of Torah, this great staircase story, none of them is superfluous. Everyone has an intentional meaning. That's why we go step by step and don't skip around and try to find things out of willy-nilly like some religions teach you to do. We do it step by step, one stone upon another stone, one step upon another step, until we come into his glory. He who has an ear to hear, let him shema. Now we are in this part of the Torah that is, we call it Ma'aseh Avot Siman Lebanim, which interpretation means that the life experiences of the patriarchs serve as signposts, as a script, as it were, a directional, locational indicators and directives for their seed, their descendants. Ma'aseh, Avot, Siman, Lebanim. We're supposed to be learning from these stories we're reading. They're not just entertainment. The patriarchal stories that we've been reading all through the book of Genesis and continue today until we conclude today. These patriarchal stories provide us critical insights, beloved, into the nature and the motivations of our Creator and his creation and fallen man. The insight that we get from these stories, the frame of reference and the database we build from reading these stories every year helps us to calmly face and understand and navigate and transcend and overcome the things that incite the raging nations to rage and the peoples that imagine vain things to imagine those vain things. The patriarchal stories give us that insight, help us to calmly face these things and overcome them. With that in mind, let's begin our studies today in Parsha Vayechi with the Shema. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Machuto Leolam Vayed. Amen. Listen and hear now and heed, O Israel. The Holy One is our God. The Holy One is the ultimate unity. He is a unifying factor. He is a ultimate oneness. He draws all things into the gravitational pull of his majesty and his gravitas, making us all one. Blessed be his glorious attributes in his name and his kingdom forever and ever. Amen. What has Bereshit taught us? Well, I'm going to leave that to your own discussions later this day as you get together with your friends and as you get together with your faith communities. But don't forget to think about, as we're on this landing between the flights of stairs, between the books of the Torah, as it were, metaphorically, as we're on this landing, don't forget to rehash or rethink what you've learned so far about whose world we live in, why we're in it, and what the purpose of man is, and about the blessing of Shabbat, of why he gave us a Shabbat and what it consists of, about the vision of Eden's garden, about the issues of covenant and grace and mercy and instruction that he gives us, about the portal that Israel, the land of Israel, is to become to the nations and to the blueprint, and the messianic hope and its blueprint pattern that we see developing in Torah's first book at the very end. See the climax and crescendo of Torah's first book of Bereshit, Genesis as it's called in the West, is the introduction of the messianic hope. Do you have it? Have you seen it? Are you getting it? It is not about how bad things may look in the world, how misbehaving the leaders of the world or the cabals of the world are. That's not the issue. The issue is not Nephilim. The issue is not giants in the land. The issue is, what is the Holy One doing, and how will he bring about the messianic hope and plan into operation? The climax and crescendo of Torah's first book of Genesis is the introduction of this messianic hope to the world. And it's a picture, it's blueprint provided to us in the kinsman redemption features of the Joseph and his brothers story. Joseph and his brothers. The story found in Genesis 46 through 50 is where we've been focusing. We'll finish that today. Joseph, you see, is the prototype of Messiah. He's trying to tell us something more than just giving us good stories to remember about our lineage. The Joseph is the prototype of the coming Messiah. He is a Hebrew faithful to the covenant in all things, under all circumstances, despite all odds and despite all persecution. He is the true member of the covenant. He is the true brother. Also faithful one, though, is Benjamin. Benjamin is the little brother, is the one who is not part of the schemes and the faults of the other brothers. The combo of Joseph and Benjamin is the hope of mankind. See, this is Israel staying true to, as it stays true to the covenant. The combo of Joseph, the Messiah prototype, and Benjamin, the prototype of faithful Israel, are the hope of mankind in the earth's bio-ecosystem. Joseph's older brothers, on the other hand, represent prodigal Israel, who stray from the covenant, sometimes greatly and powerfully and violently for a while, but then eventually, according to the great design and plan of the Messianic hope, when Benjamin is taken captive, they step up. When the faithful Israel becomes total captive, then the elder brothers will step up, will make teshuvah, will come back to the source, to origins, to purpose, will find mercy and grace and redemption and find restoration to their calling and their mission of Tikkun Olam. Oh, this is the Messianic hope. This is the kinsman redemption story. This is why we're here, to be part of this great story. We'll have other elements of this. We've seen other elements in this later story that we'll need to understand about the end of days and the great Messianic hope era. And that is, first of all, we saw Potiphar and his wife, and then we'll see Pharaoh 1, which is the one that's involved right now in our stories in Genesis 49:50. But we're going to see a second Pharaoh come out. He's going to be like Potiphar's wife, but 10 times worse. So Potiphar and his wife, Pharaoh 1 and Pharaoh 2, represent the different reactions and receptions that Israel, be it faithful or be it unfaithful at a given moment, or parts of it being faithful, parts of whichever it is, those parts being responded to and received by the nations. Potiphar is going to be like him. He takes advantage of. He wants us there because he can use us and take money from us and become wealthy through us. Is it Potiphar's wife who wants us for seditious purposes and then accuses us of false crimes? Is it Pharaoh, number 1, who wants us there to redeem his messed up nation because it's under a threat of a great famine and destruction? Is it there he wants someone to lead them through this disaster, climate change disaster? Or is it Pharaoh 2 who just wants to destroy the seed of Israel in all its ways? Who are these people? Potiphar and his wife, Pharaoh 1 and 2, how these will be our nemeses in the great Messianic hope era. So, we ended last week, Parsha Vayegash, with these words. Vayeshev Yisrael be'eretz Mizraim be'eretz Goshen. And so Israel came to dwell in the land of Egypt. We heard the story of how that happened. But so Israel came to dwell in the land of Egypt, in the country, or the countryside, or the territory known as Goshen. Vayegzu vayifru, and he took hold there, and he took root there, and he was fruitful there. Vayirbu meod, and he spread out and increased exceedingly. Awaken now the traumas and the difficulties that come whenever we prosper. The Torah segue into Sefer Shemot is where we are. We're about to hit the landing and start the next flight of stairs. And the next flight of stairs, we'll see what happens whenever Israel comes and prospers, preparing us to transition our focus from our personal, individual relationships with the Creator, you and I having our relationship with the Creator, to something bigger than that, to the greater plan, to our national identity, our national persona, our national destiny, and our national collective mission upon the earth. That's where we're segueing to. And there will be a time at which Joseph is going to say to his brothers at the end of this parsha, Hine, behold, look, look, Anochi met, I am going to die. And that's going to be the transition point, the fulcrum point between, or the landing between the two flights of stairs, between Genesis and Exodus. Hine, Anochi met, behold, see, I'm going to die. The curtain will then close on the patriarchal era with a vision of messianic hope firmly in our minds, we will see it. And now that can open, with this being said, with the Messianic hope in our hearts, then we can move on to the next act in the drama, which are the great nation-building initiative. The Holy One promised Abraham he would make of his seed a great nation. He said he would do it in Egypt, and that's what's going to happen next. So now it's time for the final parsha of Sefer Bereshit, the book of Genesis. Vayechi. This is our goodbye to the patriarchal era, and our simultaneous hello to a season of captivity that's going to be initiated by a promise of visitation and redemption and ultimate return to our homeland and to our source and to our calling. Parsha Vayechi is a legacy parsha. I want to get that to you again. Parsha Vayechi is a legacy parsha. It's all full of end-of-life and era thoughts. Thoughts about the end of life and the purpose of life. Thoughts about the end of an era and the purpose of an era and what the era portends for the future. It's all full of end-of-life and era thoughts. It's all full of cross-generational messages, mostly blessings. Cross-generational messages, mostly blessings, will come forth during this week. And it's a parsha full of first-to-die admonitions. First, Yaakov will die, but before he dies, he has things to say and impart that we'll need for the next part of our journey. And then Yosef himself will die at the very end of our parsha, at the very end of the book of Genesis, and he too will give us a first-to-die admonition. He will tell us what to expect in the times to come and how he will give us the hope of Messiah coming. This is also a legacy parsha in that it is a parsha of inspiring and empowering prophetic visions. Yaakov will have a prophetic vision about the future, as will Yosef, and they will impart those visions. So Vayechi. It's basically an 8-act play. It starts out with Yaakov declaring his allegiance to the land. 17 years into the journey, the sojourn, I should say, in Egypt, the prophet, the patriarch, the leader of our little group, our little family band, the tribe of Israel, the leader will declare his allegiance not to himself, not to his family, but to the land. The covenant of the Holy One runs with the land, and we must never forget. So he will declare his allegiance to the land by saying, do not, Joseph, do not bury me in this land. Take me home. Take me back to the home. This idea of the homeland, the power, the passion for the homeland is something that is going to drive us and continues to drive us through generations of persecution and difficulty into the Messianic age of deliverance. Second act is Yaakov meeting and then blessing and adopting even Yosef's two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. I'll leave that for your discussions later. There's a beautiful passage there of bringing in the outliers into the fold. But then Act 3 will be Yaakov actually blessing all of his progeny. He will call all, gather together around me, he will say. And on his deathbed, he will call all together and he will go one by one, person by person, eyeball to eye contact to eye contact, and he will speak over each of his families and members and their tribes for the future. Then Act 4 will be he will give his last instructions. Yaakov will give his last instructions about wanting to be buried in the cave of Machpelah, and he will die. And he will be mourned in Egypt. Acts 5 will be his mourning period. Act 6 will be Yaakov making his final aliyah. The actual burial will take place at the cave of Machpelah. We'll see the journey take place there. We will see then Joseph beginning his final mission to the brothers. And he will reassure his brothers that nothing has changed by reason of his father's death, but his commitment to them, to nurture, to provide for them, will remain strong. He also will continue his father's legacy of saying, do not bury me in Egypt. He too has the passion for the land of the patriarchs, the land of the beachhead through which the kingdom of heaven is to come to earth. So he will remind them of that and say, do not bury me in Egypt. And they won't. They will not bury him in Egypt. To the contrary, they'll put his bones in a box and prepare for whenever the next thing happens. His prophetic vision will be that God will surely visit you. The Creator will surely visit you and will bring you up out of this place and return you to the land. And when he does, take my bones with you. The legacy parsha. This is the legacy of the people of the Holy One. Vayechi also gives us essential strategies for life and living in the end of days, in the times of the great tribulations. How can we prepare for such things? How can we cope with such things? How can we survive such traumas? How can we flourish even in the midst of it? And when other people are suffering, how can we do this? Wow, Vayechi teaches us 5 essential disciplines of tikkun that we are to use to sustain ourselves and the people who will receive the message from us and the world. Maintaining mission focus is the first one. Keeping a beyond the veil vision. There's something more going on than meets the eye. There's more than the evil of this world that is involved here. The goodness of God is involved as well. So maintaining mission focus and a beyond the veil vision is the first discipline of tikkun. Second discipline of tikkun is cultivating and flowing in a passion to be a blessing wherever we are under any circumstance. To become a blessing. Not to get blessings, but to release blessings over every family and every household on the face of the earth. Do you have this passion to be a blessing? Beloved, this is a key to the disciplines of tikkun, to maintaining ourselves in the life of days of the persecutions and the tribulations. The third of the 5 disciplines of tikkun is having a good eye about life experiences. We could be jaundiced, we could be angry, we could be offended, we could be victimized, we could get into a victim mentality by virtue of things that have happened to us, like happened to Joseph or like happened to Yaakov. But believe it or not, beloved, our tikkun strategies, the disciplines of tikkun, are to keep a good eye, to keep seeing that God is doing something good, even when everyone else meant evil. And even when everything else looked to be evil, God was still working good, as Joseph did. So the fourth of the tikkun disciplines is to take a legacy and strong foundation, door of the door, from generation to generation, passing on a legacy initiative. Do something that's going to make the next generation better and have a hope. The fifth of the disciplines of tikkun that this book teaches us and this parsha teaches us is that we are to inspire one another with this great hope of messianic redemption and restoration. Oh, the messianic plan is so beautiful, so wonderful. It is the key, the secret to the world's success and survival. So be a messenger of the messianic kingdom. So let's get into our story. 17 years have passed since Joseph and his brothers reconciled, as was described in Parsha Vayechi last week. 17 years? That's a long time. The land of Goshen, an isolated and unpopulated area in the hinterlands of Egypt's Nile River Valley, Upper Nile Valley, has become a temporary home away from home for the people of the covenant. Up here, we live in Egypt, but we're not of Egypt. We're not even close to Egypt. We're just part of their territory. We are considered strangers here, foreigners here, aliens here even. We have the current Pharaoh's permission to be here because we serve a purpose for him, but that could change any minute. If he gets dissatisfied, if he, in his whimsical ways, chooses to, or his people convince him that we're evil and we're the problem instead of the solution, that could change any minute. Our status could change, and because we are not citizens here. We do not belong here. We do not have legal rights here. We are looked upon with disfavor by the population, so be prepared. Things could change in a moment. We are a vulnerable, suspect minority in this land of the pyramids and the sphinxes. We're living in the midst of a shallow and a materialistic and narcissistic and a sexuality obsessed and a pseudo-intellectual, intellect spewing and ethnic arrogance exuding, knee-jerk reacting, outraged about everything, lawless, loveless, godless, pagan population. Yet they're eminently self-righteous. They think they're smarter and better than anyone else in the world, especially us. That's where we live. That's what we're doing. We're a vulnerable, suspect minority in the midst of them. We're sheep among wolves, as the Messiah will later say. So to them, our entire way of life, our approach to life, our mindset about life, our messianic hope is folly. It's an abomination even. And therefore our lives here in this land of exile, in this land of captivity, in this land, our lives are extremely shaky. It might be said later, as shaky as a fiddler. on the roof. And meanwhile, our story begins because our patriarch is getting old. He's reaching his vanishing point. His days of having regular God encounters ended a long time ago. Last time he received a message in thunderspeak, which is the way the Holy One communicates with mankind. The last thunderspeak message he got was 17 years ago at Beersheba, when the Holy One told him these words: "Do not fear to go down to Egypt. Don't be afraid. For I will make of you there a great nation, a goy gadol." That's what he's doing. "I will go down with you to Egypt," the Holy One said, "and I will surely bring you up again," he said, "and Joseph's hand will close your eyes." That's the message that he is living under Yaakov is living under the thunderspeak message he holds on to. But now it is time to set the stage for the next chapters, the final chapters in the book of Genesis. Those detailing our great deliverance from bondage, how the Holy One transforms our little covenant family into a counterforce vis-a-vis the Ra, Shakat, Hamas, vanity, and folly, toxicity that's flooding the earth to the raging nations. We are being prepared for this next part of our journey, because our assignment in the upcoming season will be to stay on course and on point and on mission, and not to be distracted or discouraged while we're doing tov, doing good, but to keep sowing good seed. Keep releasing the life force of the kingdom of heaven into the next generation and into the world around us. And to leave the world, including this pagan land of exile in which we live, in which we've been deployed for a period of time, to leave it all a better place than it was when we found it, and in a better place, position to flourish than it's ever been before. That's our mission, should we choose to accept it. There are challenges, though, that we face. But the challenges that we face, beloved, are that all creation, including this place we're living now, is under an oppressive veil of uncleanness, of profanity, of Ra, Shakat, Hamas, of vanity, and of folly. This creation is groaning under the oppression of this, and mankind, unfortunately, of the raging nations and the vanity-obsessed peoples, is adding to it daily. So all creation is groaning. That's our first challenge. Second thing, all of humanity's ethnicities, all of its races, all of its cultures, all of its nationalities, all of its bloodlines have been horribly corrupted by Ra, Shakat, Hamas, folly, and vanity. And all of man's institutions, every one of them, every institution of religion, every institution of government, every institution of education, every institution of science and medicine, every institution of entertainment has been founded upon lies and promotes propaganda and produces only futility. That's our challenge. Also, the fact that uncleanness and vile passions and darkened understanding are prevalent everywhere, and vain imaginations are coming out of every mind, and a debased mind is the norm in our societies of this day. This is a part of our challenge. And fifth is, in the time that we have been allotted on earth, we can't fix everything. There's just not enough time. There's not enough of us to go around, assuming we're even on task and on target. We are to bring the contagion of holiness, though, into as many places and as many situations and as many bloodlines as we can. That's the challenge we face. Vayechi. What is going to be in Vayechi? Let's see, the call to worship. We will sing the Baraku. Sing with me if you would in Hebrew. If you don't know it in Hebrew, just listen. And let the sweet sound of the Hebrew language the Creator has chosen to communicate to mankind in waft over your souls and awaken your neshama spirit within you. Baruch Adonai Hamborach. Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Vayed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'torah. Amen. And now may you open our eyes, O Holy One, that we may see wondrous things in your Torah. We are just strangers in this earth, so please do not hide your instructions for life from us. And now gather around, children of the Most High, students of the Torah, because it's time to immerse ourselves in the stories again. The opening lines of our Parsha of the week, the landing Parsha Vayechi, are as follows. Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim. And thus Yaakov lived in the land of Egypt. Shiva Esrei Shana, 17 years. Vayehi Yemei Yaakov. And then the days of Yaakov's life. Shnei Hayayin Umeot Shana were 147 years. Vayikrevush Yamei Yisrael Lamut. And when the time drew near for Israel to die, Vayikra Nivno LeYosef Vayomer Lo. He called his son Yosef, and he said to him, Imna matzati ken be'aneka. And now, son, if I have found grace and favor in your eyes, Simna yadcha takat yereki. Put your hand now under my thigh, my private innermost parts. Va'asot imadi chesed ve'emet. And do me this kindness and this truth. Al na tikbireni b'mitzrayim. Do not bury me in Egypt. Shakavti im amot avoti. But let me lie in rest with my patriarchs, my fathers. Un satani b'mitzrayim, carry me up out of Egypt. Ukavartani bik bur atam, and bury me in their tomb. And Joseph said, Anoki eset kid varateka. And he said, I will do as you have said according to your word. Swear to me, Yaakov said, and he swore to him. So Israel bowed himself, raised him up, and then bowed himself at the head of the bed. And that's how our story starts. What will the testimony that follows in the parsha known as Vayechi be all about? Finishing the leg of the covenant course that we have been assigned with excellence. Finishing well. Wherever you are in your walk, wherever you are in your age, wherever you are in the time allotted, finish the course well. This is the first message. Keep the main thing. Keep focused on what is important, not on what is shiny and attractive and offending the nations and causing them to rage. Finish the leg of the covenant course that's been assigned to you with excellence, beloved. This is the covenant calling. Second part of the testimony of Parsha Vayechi is that we're to get perspective on the events and the meaning of mortal life. Get some perspective. Don't get caught up by every little thing that goes on in the world, by every latest parcel of news or little tidbit of gossip that you hear, or the slander, or the scandals that are being mongered, or the hate, or the baiting that's being going on. Don't get distracted by that. We are here for a purpose and for a reason. We have a mission, and it's a very important one, to bring the messianic hope and the redemption and tikkun olam to the world. The third testimony of Vayechi will be that we are to build a legacy as we go. Build a legacy for the ecosystem that brings shalom. We are to bring shalom. We are to be shalom asa'ers, makers, builders, formers of peace. We are to seek virtue and see virtue and speak blessings over the area and the people that the Holy One has placed around us. We're not to get distracted, and not to get discouraged, not to be taken off track by the darkness of the world, and by the darkness of the raging nations, and by the darkness of the peoples that imagine vain things and their conspiracies and their worries and their cabal theories. We're not to do that. We are to leave a sweet fragrance behind us wherever we go, and a strong foundation for the generation to come behind. Rabbinical dust, as it were, we're supposed to leave everywhere we live, everywhere we walk, everywhere we work, everywhere we travel, everywhere we speak. And the redemption should take place then. The redemptive synergy that we begin to create through this rabbinical dust that we lay. This is what will become and make us into our brother's keeper in the world, as Joseph was to Benjamin. so Messiah will be to us, as Benjamin was to his brothers, the key to their restoration. So we will be to the world. Amen. So let's remember what Yaakov remembered as he get ready for the final leg of his journey. He remembered and reminded Joseph of something that happened back at the staircase vision, back at Beit El, or he calls it as original name, Luz. What does he remember? Genesis 48:3 tells us this is what Yaakov remembered. Of all the things he could have talked about, the pain that he suffered, the bereaving of his loss of precious Rachel, or his father, or the years that he spent separated, 20 years he spent separated from Joseph, thinking he was dead. He could have talked about all that and complained, and he could have moaned, and he could have played the victim, but he didn't. He said instead, here's what I remember. El Shaddai, the great powerful one, appeared to me at Luz in Eretz Canaan, and he blessed me. Do you understand? Are you a blessed person? Do you understand your life has been a blessing and it should continue to be a blessing? No matter what's happened that you could complain about, what you've really received. The reason you're still alive is because of the blessing of the Holy One. He says, then he blessed me. And he said to me, Hineni, behold, hey, look at me. I will make you paru. He said, I will make you fruitful. And I will multiply and greaten and establish you. And I will establish you as a kahal amin, the musterer, the assembler, collector of people groups under your headship. And I will entrust this land, he said to me, Yaakov remembered, this land where he was sitting at Luz, at Beit El, to your seed after you, this vision of the generations to come. I will entrust this land to your seed, the Holy One told him, and he remembered, as an akuzot al-ulam, a perpetual feudal allotment of the rights. Well, beloved, as we get ready to conclude our Parsha and our studies in Bereshit, the sooner we start focusing on these things, the better. Not just for us, but for our bloodlines, for our communities, for the nations, for everyone and everything our lives and our progeny touch or affect. The great story continues. Here's the story. Yaakov extracts the vow from Joseph to take him back to Egypt, to Canaan, to bury him in the cave of Machpelah, not to bury him in Egypt. Yaakov meets Joseph's two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and adopts them into his own family, makes them tribes in their own right. He incorporates the people, the sons of the pagan, in this case, who was the Asenat, the daughter of Potiphar, the wife of Joseph. Their sons he brings into the covenant. Then Yaakov blesses Ephraim over Manasseh. He knows that out of Ephraim will come forth. That is fruitfulness, more so than the memory, which is Manasseh's name means I will remember. And Ephraim means he has made me fruitful, the very great fruitfulness. The fruitfulness is more important than the remembrance, but both are important. Then Yaakov will do his deathbed blessings over all of his sons, from Reuben to Dan, then from Gad to Yosef. And Yaakov will then complete his deathbed blessing and die and be taken back to Hebron, to Kiryat Arba, to Machpelah, and be buried in the cave along with his fathers and mother and grandmother. And then at the very end, the conclusion of the Parsha will be that Joseph will reiterate his kinsman redemption protector's promise that he made early on when the reconciliation occurred 17 years ago. Joseph will reiterate that he is going to protect them, defend them, and be their protector and defender. He will prophesy also to them of what's going to come, a great deliverance to come. And he will extract from them a don't bury me here promise, like the ones his brothers, or his father exacted from him. And then he will die as well at 110 years old. That will end the patriarchal era. And the book of Genesis will also conclude. And as it ends, we will see a picture that should be in our memory forever. A picture of a box of bones, Joseph's bones, unburied, a scandal in Egypt, waiting for another era to begin. Well, beloved, that's all the time I have for you today. At the end of every Parsha, at every book of Torah, when we finish, we say, Hazak, Hazak, V'ni Chazek. May we be strengthened, and may we be strengthened, and may we all be strengthened together. Shabbat Shalom. I'll see you next week.